DC, a capital offense in the eyes of the Gestapo. His crystal set is hidden inside a tin of spinach. Despite the poor reception, he is able to tune in secretly to London.
The BBC was a great morale booster, thanks to the news they gave in French. They wrote news that we couldn't read in our newspapers, which were limited to the German communique. But also there was what we call les Français parlent aux Français, that were giving orders, advice, and so on.
Andre Heinz is waiting for one particular message. The time to fight is coming.
In the evening, listening to the news in French, at last I heard "L'heure du combat viendra," which was the sign, meaning that we had to listen in very carefully after that during the following days, because then we would get the orders for sabotage.
Andre Heinz must tell his network that D-Day is imminent. But if the invasion is stopped by bad weather, the French partisans will be caught in a death trap.
I had to send a postcard from Bayeux, showing the tapestry, one scene of the tapestry, and I had to sign like a visitor, saying "Bon baiser," signing with the girl's name. And of course, it had been arranged so that they knew that it meant they had to do their best to try and join us here, to be part of the little group of the resistance that wanted to try and do things at the time of the landings.
Supreme Allied HQ, 5:30 p.m. Half an hour later, Stagg and Yates arrive at the Supreme Allied headquarters.
Came to command headquarters in time for the long-range development conference at 5:30 p.m. Fairly optimistic, but obviously a very marginal and difficult situation.
The meeting ends with the outcome still undecided. A bad storm could stop the troops from even reaching France, in which case it would be suicidal to proceed. And yet, with everything geared up for the invasion to begin, not to go ahead feels like madness. James Stagg is in a difficult position. Get it sorted out, he has been told by the Americans. General Eisenhower is a very busy man. But as a meteorologist, Stagg can't invent the weather. Friday, June 2nd, 1944, 4 days to D-Day. This morning, a convoy leaves Hiltingbury Camp in Hampshire for the south coast. Then, unexpectedly, there's a holdup. D-Day is coming, but for Britain's farmers, life goes on. Nothing can stop the invasion now. Not even a herd of English cows.
You all right there? You need a hand? I need a hand just to push them back in. Okay, back home, rural farm boy.
After a week of uncertainty for Glenn Dicken and the Canadian farm boys, here's something they know how to do.
You okay there? Yeah. Come on, boys.
Throughout the day, convoys are on the move. The Regina Rifles will join thousands of infantry already loaded onto their transports and waiting in port. There have been rehearsals before, but now it's clear to everyone that this is the real thing. By early evening, Glenn Dicken's convoy has joined hundreds of others in the densely crowded ports along the Channel coast. Once on board ship, they will be confined to their quarters, waiting for the Allied fleet to set sail. This is the last they will see of England for some time. Supreme Allied HQ, 9:30 p.m. Admiral Ramsay attends the evening weather briefing.
Commanders meeting at 21:30. The weather story showed no improvement, but also no deterioration, so the operation was allowed to continue.
James Stagg is asked for an update.
In the last 24 hours, there's been no clear indication as to how it will go, better or worse. But at the best, the weather in the Channel for the next 3 or 4 days will at least be very different from what we'd hoped for.
What's your personal view?
If I were to answer that, sir, it would make me a guesser, not your meteorological advisor.
Saturday, June 3rd, 1944, 3 days to D-Day. Southampton docks, 8:30 a.m. Glenn Dicken is now one of thousands of men confined to their troop ships. After months of training, there are only days to go. Cottesmore Airfield, 9:30 a.m. 1 hour later, Bill Tucker is summoned to a briefing with his fellow paratroopers of the 82nd Airborne Division.
Each platoon came in with a platoon commander. The captain was there, and you could see the town of St. Mary Glees. And underneath it said Normandy. I can remember that all my days. A few guys like me were taking a long shot. I'd come up with some weird idea that we'd go to Yugoslavia or something like that, you know. And so we talked a lot about it, and then I think way down deep that we all knew we would go to France.
Later that day, the commanders' meeting is not going well.
The weather picture is now full of menace for the 5th of June.
Is there any chance you might be more optimistic tomorrow?
No, sir. There's no chance of that now.
Thank you, gentlemen.
As he was leaving, ACM Tedder said, "Pleasant dreams, Stagg."
Pleasant dreams, old chap.
Bedell Smith caught me and said we must think about postponement with later times of assault landing. It is extremely unfortunate that this situation should have come about just now. It is the worst, the most uncertain during the whole time in 1944 that I have been in this job.
The weather could not have changed at a worse time. The invasion troops are due to sail the following day. They will reach the French coast early on Monday, June 5th. Eisenhower faces the toughest dilemma of his military career.
Probably no one who does not have to bear the specific and direct responsibility of making the final decision can understand the intensity of these burdens.
The following morning, the planners meet at dawn. Once again, James Stagg brings bad news.
In all the charts for the 40 or 50 years I have examined, I cannot recall one which at this time of year resembles this chart in the number of depressions it portrays at one time. The outlook is more like winter than summer.
This means that my ships will not have sufficient air cover. Can we really go ahead on this basis?
2 hours later, the historic signal goes out. Eisenhower had made his decision. The invasion will be postponed for 24 hours. Sunday, June 4th, 1944, 2 days to D-Day. At the 11th hour, Eisenhower, the Supreme Allied Commander, has postponed the invasion of Nazi-occupied Europe because of bad weather. Supreme Allied HQ, 6 a.m. If he doesn't go within 48 hours, then the next date, with the right moon and tide, is 2 weeks away. He cannot wait that long. His troops are at an advanced state of readiness. Their morale must be maintained. Hiding vehicles, ships, and planes from the Germans will be impossible. They must go soon, or not at all. Roche-Guyon, France, 7 a.m. On this day, German commander Erwin Rommel makes a decision that he will always regret. His experts have told him the weather is far too uncertain for the Allies to land. He is firmly convinced that the tides and moon are wrong for an invasion. He leaves his headquarters, climbs into his staff car, and heads for Germany. Rommel has decided to return home for his wife Lucy's 50th birthday, which is 2 days away. At the critical moment, the man in charge of repelling the invasion is absent from his post. In Britain, as the day goes on, the clouds start to gather. It becomes clear that Eisenhower has made the right decision to postpone the invasion. Admiral Sir Bertram Ramsay, commander of the naval operation, notes this in his diary.
The weather got progressively worse from midday, having been lovely at 04:15, making the decision to postpone more difficult. As the day went on, the forecast became more fully justified.
Hampshire, England, 2 p.m. The order to stand down for 24 hours has now filtered through to all the Allied troops. It is received with mixed emotions by Commando Cliff Morris.
Orders came for moving, and everyone is keyed up. Excitement at fever pitch. However, orders are postponed at the very last minute as weather is unfit for airborne operations. This is a real blow to us and dashes our hopes to the ground.
We wanted to go, whatever the weather, but there'd be no surprise we were there too long. We wanted to get on with the job, because the longer we were in that camp there, the more the Germans would learn about us. But they were bound to have people on the inside who'd never been spotted and could relay things out.
Nantes, France, 4:30 p.m. Unaware these are the last days of unchallenged occupation, German soldier Walter Schwender has been swimming with friends. He believes, should the invasion come, it will pose no threat to Germany. His commanders have been encouraged in this belief by the Allied deception plan.
Ich hoffe, dass das Wetter heute so bleibt.